we're live.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, hello. You may have noticed that Joanne is missing this week.
Or she's shrunk.
Yeah, or she has shrunk and put... She's wearing the same yellow hat as last week. Yeah, she's away visiting her dad this weekend, so she's left the studio and workshop in our capable hands.
Yeah, we're not doing too bad of a job, are we?
We've not found the matches yet. So, as we said last week, what we're going to do this week is short and sweet. We're going to talk about printing. 3D printing electrodes, what we do, some tips and tricks.
How they come off the bed.
Yeah, and basically what we do, hopefully some of these tips will help you. So to start with, Rachel here, Sub-R, basically runs the printers for us.
And the farmer.
You are the farmer, plastic farmer.
Yes.
So, in your opinion,
yeah,
what is the most important thing you have to think about when you start a print?
Bed leveling.
I'll agree with that.
Bed leveling.
Bed leveling, bed leveling, bed leveling.
Basically, yeah. And also watch your first layer go down, because that is the most important layer.
Yeah.
If that goes wrong, the whole print's going to go horribly wrong, really.
The big thing as well is cleanliness of your bed.
Yes.
We clean our beds once a day in the morning when we start.
Yeah, IPA.
Yeah, isopropyl alcohol does a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
If we are finding that things are not sticking down as they should do, what that means is there's some grease on the bed. Now, IPA won't actually lift the grease off the bed, it will just tend to smear it and spread it around.
Yeah.
So while using IPA on a fresh cloth does give it a good clean, over time, if you're touching it repeatedly, you will build up some grease from your fingertips. So what do we do then?
Good old soap and water.
Warm water and soap. Simple as that.
Give it a rinse.
Get it in the sink. Wash it.
Yeah.
Make sure you rinse it off to get rid of all the soap.
Make sure it's completely dry.
Yeah, let it dry, and then again clean it with IPA.
IPA, and away you go.
And throw it back on.
Yeah.
Make sure that you've set your Z offset. Well, so
That's
bed
also,
level your printer.
Yeah.
That is critical, especially if you're doing a big print. If you're doing a small print in the middle, you can get away with it a little bit.
Yeah.
But bed leveling, and then the next thing is setting your Z offset. If you're using a double-sided bed, grab us that one. Double-sided beds obviously have two different coatings. The coatings can actually be different thicknesses on each side. So try and use the same side every time.
Yeah.
And if it wears out eventually, because they do wear out,
just flip it over.
Flip it over, but make sure you do use that offset again.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of printers have what's called baby stepping. So as you watch the first print go down, you can actually have a look at your line width.
Yeah.
And what you're looking for is not spaghetti. You're looking for more of a lozenge shape. So it's squished out a little bit, but not too much. And with baby stepping, you can adjust that on the fly for that print. And at the end of the print, you can actually save that into your printer's memory, and hopefully it will do the same next time. We spend a lot of time setting the bed leveling.
Yeah.
We tend not to do it how most people do it, which is home all your axes and then disable your motors. If you're using something like an Ender 3 that only has one Z lead screw, when you disable the motors, you can get it slipping down slightly. So you're on a downhill slope for a kicking there and then if you're setting Z offset.
We've learnt that the hard way.
Yeah, so what we do is G28, home everything, and then we use the controls to move the bed and move the hot end. So we can accurately control where it is when we adjust our screws to set the bed level. And what we will do is we will, because we quite often print at 0.2 layer height, and if we're using a feeler gauge, we use obviously a 0.2mm feeler gauge, we can raise the Z by 0.2, move it above each screw in turn, and actually adjust that screw using the feeler gauge to get it spot on. If you just let it home and then set with, an offset using a feeler gauge, you're setting a false Z offset. So set it to home, raise it with the controls to the height of your feeler gauge, and then set that, and then you've got an absolute spot on gap, and when it's at 0 your nozzle is just touching the bed. So when your first layer goes down and it raises it 0.6 or 0.2, it's an accurate movement and you'll get good layers then, isn't it?
Yeah, we found that works absolutely
But
fine.
the big thing is watch your first layer go down, adjust your baby steps if you have to, and take it from there. We use a lot of different type of printers. I think it's 25 now, is it?
25 and a half.
25 and a half, yeah. Cause we've got
half is the one to be built.
Yeah, we've got a pruser in a box that we haven't got time to put together at the moment. So is it 23 and a half or 25 and a half?
25 and a half.
Wow. So we have all sorts of things. We started off with Ender 3s. Ender 3 is a very basic, very cheap machine, but pretty good if you're starting out, isn't it?
It's brilliant. I mean, obviously it's very basic, which also makes it very easy to use.
Makes it easy to learn about 3D printing.
It's a very good learner printer. Yeah. I mean,
if you're into modifying stuff, you can spend the rest of your life with an Ender 3.
I was about to say our first Ender 3 is very heavily modified.
Yeah,
I think there's only the frame,
which
is the original.
It doesn't even got the same screen as it used to have.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ender 3 is a nice cheap entry into the 3D printing community, and you can have a lot of fun modifying it. And generally, it prints quite decent prints out of the box.
We've got 6.
We've got 6 Ender 3s.
Yeah.
We've got
2 Ender Pros.
We've got an Ender 5.
And an Ender 5.
Big one, a CR10.
Yeah.
Then we're on to the Prusas. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 Prusa Mark 3S pluses. 1 Prusa Mini. Yeah. It's on your desk.
Yeah. 2 Prusas.
Yeah. 2 Prusas. No, we've got 5 printers. Prusas.
Yeah, 5. Sorry.
Two at home.
I was getting those mixed up with the
Vorons.
The Vorons.
Yeah, we've got 5 Vorons. We've got Voron 2.4s, Voron Zeros, and a Voron 0.1. They're amazing machines. Yeah. And the latest acquisitions are a Bamboo X1 Carbon,
which is amazing.
With an AMS and a P1S with an AMS.
Yeah, I love that you can go from printing PLA to ABS.
Yeah.
From pink to blue.
Yeah, multicolour prints. Or for us, because we're putting a lot of prints through our machines, we can put 2 rolls of yellow up, and when it runs out of one completely, it then automatically switches on to the second one.
So you get everything through it.
So
you can imagine we go through quite a lot of filament,
a hell of a lot of filament.
try and use as much as we can.
We tend to print in PLA and ABS.
PLA, ABS. Yeah. Sometimes PETG.
Occasionally. We don't like PETG.
No, we've tried that a couple of times, and it's not quite worked out.
A lot of people start PLA and then move to PETG and then go to ABS. We jumped. Went to ABS.
We started to think, why not? We'll go straight.
And you can print ABS on an Ender 3.
You can. We've done it in a carrier bag.
Yep. Carrier bag, cardboard box. What you do need to bear in mind though is you need an all metal hot end. If you're bringing the temperature up to 250 degrees, you need an all metal hot end. Otherwise, your Bowden tube, which will go into your tip on an Ender 3, will off gas some nasty stuff.
And ABS also likes a little bit of cooling as well. I think we keep our fans at 20%.
20%, yeah. People
just
say
to give it that bit of extra cooling so it sticks to the bed.
Well, it's layer adhesion, overhangs.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say, oh no cooling.
Yeah, no.
Right, well, no, you need 20%.
For us, the happy medium is 20% with ABS. PLA, 100%. We leave our fans off for the first 3 layers, so you get good bed adhesion, and then 100% for PLA. ABS again, fans off for the first 3 layers, and then we go to 20%. Even on overhangs, we don't raise it, it's 20% full stop. ABS doesn't like the temperature going up and down and fluctuations.
It likes it as a nice steady...
If you keep a steady fan of 20% going across it, it tends to stick, and you don't get any warping and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and also give your beds a good soaking with the heat as well. I mean, especially our Vorons.
Yeah, our Vorons have 8mm thick aluminium plates.
We leave them on for half an hour at least.
They need to heat for half an hour. Yeah, because they do that as they're heating up. And then they stabilise, it stops, and then we basically do a mesh across it so we can account for any irregularities. But yeah, we need to heat soak for 30 minutes. The Enders, generally you don't need to. No. But if you give it 5 minutes before you hit print, that will help.
Yeah. Any extra time you can give it.
Try, if you're going to do multiple prints, try not to let your bed cool down between prints.
Yeah, I'm often running up and down trying to
manage
not let them cool down too much.
Yeah, because it saves time as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the beds that we use. Our Ender 3s, none of them have the stock beds on anymore.
I think they've had 3, just a 4/5.
Yeah, beds are replaceable. And if you use them a lot, you'll go through them. The stock beds are pretty good, but they tend to get damaged quite easily, and we've replaced them. On our Enders, we're using this stuff. Now this is, I think it's FR4. It's basically fiberglass, and it's the stuff that's used inside PCBs. It is incredibly cheap. A sheet that big costs us about £6. That is, I think, 3mm or 4mm thick.
I think it's 3.
Yeah, I'd suggest going a little bit thinner than that, because that takes a bit of time to heat up. So 2mm is a good size. Yeah. And that sticks like glue.
Oh yes.
When it's hot. as soon as it cools down, you hear cracking as your models release.
He's heard me swearing God knows how many times because I'm
trying
to get a print off a bed, and
so that is some of the best material we found, and it's cheap as chips.
Yeah.
Really, really cheap.
Yeah, and it's so effective.
So moving on, texture PEI sheets. We use PEI a lot. ABS likes PEI.
Yeah.
This is a
nice
textured sheet. We also have smooth sheets, and depending on what model we're printing or what electrode we're making, we'll either use a textured one or a smooth one.
I do like the texture. You leave a nice little print in
nice
the bottom as well.
Mottled effect. Yeah. So they're quite reasonably priced. You can pick them up on Amazon, eBay, that sort of thing. There's a little sneak peek on the mouse mat there.
And is this a new one you've brought?
Yeah. Have a look at the Prusa first. This is a stock Prusa bed coming up, and that actually has a print that's straight off the printer.
That's fresh off the press.
5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
That's ABS.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like when you print it. It's nice and dull, and you can see obviously your layer lines and all the rest of it. When we vapor smooth in acetone,
makes it nice and shiny.
An acetone vapor rather than immersing it in liquid, and it goes like Lego.
Yeah.
Nice and shiny. But this stuff, once the bed's cooled, it comes off
later.
really easily.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Another bed that we've literally just received.
Just got off the packet.
We're experimenting with at the moment. We're looking at making some gas mask eye covers. Now, the texture that you can see on that looks absolutely amazing.
I can't wait to see the bottom of the prints with that.
And the prints will look like that when they come off the bed.
It's not doing it justice on camera.
So that's one side, and on the other side we have a textured PI sheet, which is really useful. So we're looking forward to trying that, and on things with a big surface area, maybe ball crushers as well.
Ooh, yes.
That could look.
I'm sure Jo will like that.
Yeah, she likes anything like that. So that's what we use with beds.
Yeah.
You can use glass. We have glass on the end of 5.
We've also used the flexi ones, haven't we? We've used those on the end.
We like this type of sheet that's uses a magnetic base.
Yeah.
Because when you print finishes, you can take it off.
Yeah.
And by taking it off, you can either throw another one on straight on, or just let it cool down quicker to release the model.
Yeah.
If you're using PEI, let your prints cool down before you remove them. Otherwise, it tends to pull the PEI off the metal surface.
I've tried.
Yeah, don't use scrapers and stuff. Let it cool down.
Learned that the hard way. Let's just say.
And with the flexible sheets, you can literally bend them, and the models will pop off. Right, PLA. We tend to set our beds at 60 degrees, which we've not found a brand that hasn't worked at that temperature.
No.
So as long as your bed is clean and you've got good adhesion, 60 degrees for the bed. Depending on the brand, we'll print anywhere from 205 to 215 degrees.
Depending on the manufacturer's
depending on which brand we're using.
Yeah.
When we get a new batch of filament in, we do a temperature tower. Simply because you do get slight variations, even from the same manufacturer, the same colour. Different colours will have a different good temperature to print at. So we do a temperature tower, and that shows us what the optimum nozzle temperature is for that print. You can find them on Thingiverse.
It also depends what dyes the manufacturer's using.
You can have the same material from the same manufacturer in a different colour, and you need a different temperature.
Yeah, we've happened to that God knows how many times, haven't we, where we've ordered red and it's completely different temperature to black.
It just won't stick down or something. It's a nightmare. Some people do a different temperature for the first layer and then a different temperature for the subsequent layers. We don't. We just print at whatever temperature we're going to print with. And we do a temperature tower to tune that brand. We'll then write it on the outside of the spool. What's the temperature that works with that spool, so we can actually tweak things. Because obviously your temperature is saved in your STL file or your G code. And if you're going to use a filament that needs a slightly different temperature, you can manually dial that in at the start of a print.
We've learnt this just by try and error, basically.
Lots of error.
We wasted a lot of
lots of error.
Lot of material,
but we're getting quite good with things like ABS now. It's very rare we'll get things a problem. If it is, it's either a mechanical issue with the machine, which we sort out, or grease on the bed.
I will literally, he'll say, "Why are you watching the printer?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm watching the first layer."
Spotter. Right. Other things.
Ooh, what's this one?
No, we'll come back in a minute. Other things. Now, these are called Heatset inserts.
I
And
do
these
like
things
them.
are incredible.
They are.
It's a little piece of brass with a screw thread in it and little teeth on the outside. If you're making anything or designing anything that takes a metal thread, or any sort of thread really, you can't really screw into plastic. You'll get away with it the first time, but if you remove the screw and put it in again, you're going to strip those threads. Plastic, it's not industrial for that sort of thing. But if you measure these and make a hole in your print and then melt that in using a soldering iron so it's flush with the top surface, you've then got a metal thread inside a 3D printed item. We use these extensively on electrodes that need to be bolted together, like
especially the ball crushers,
the ball crushers, the sound holders. So anything that's got a thread, we'll use one of these. They're available in lots of different sizes. We tend to use M3 a lot because it's small and it suits what we do.
We buy them in bulk.
We buy them in bulk from China, and they cost pennies, but they're really, if you're designing things yourself for 3D printing, get yourself some Heatset. They're called Heatset inserts. AliExpress, Amazon, eBay, anywhere. Get some of those because they will save you a lot of heartache if you're making things you need to bolt together. Now, Jo has asked us to talk about her latest creation.
She's been creating again.
She's been tweaking. There's a mountain of iterations
I'm
on
looking
her
at
desk.
her desk now.
It's like just a pile of things. What she's done, let me show you a picture. Put my gags on so I can see what I'm printing. This, if you follow us on Twitter, you might recognise that. What it is an insulated cock loop that has an integrated cord lock. So you don't need to put your conductive rubber through a cord lock to hold things tight.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's all in one piece. And that is classic Jo, isn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, those little clips, it's like, they're so fiddly, aren't they?
Yeah, they are a pain in the arse, and it takes up more space as well.
It does.
And if you've got a complicated setup, you might need the space.
Yeah.
So she's come up with this idea. Let me go up to close up. You want to hold that up to the camera? So
let's see if I'm good, as good as Jo.
Yeah, go a bit higher. Get higher, baby.
That's it.
Ta-da! So that's ABS, and it's got a little ABS button. And you notice the button's triangular. Now the reason for that is printability.
Yeah.
When you print things, you need to have a wide base for it to adhere to the print bed. So that is triangular rather than round, so that it'll print well.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Little things like that. Jo, good. Now the inside of that is really complicated, and I'm on the wrong screen on the computer.
I give him one job.
I get one job. Once a week I get a job. There we go. So that's what we're looking at in Rachel's hand. The tubular bit with the black bit in the middle, that's conductive rubber.
Yeah.
So that's the black CR. The yellow bit is the yellow body that you can see there with JR on it. The pinky red bit is the latch.
Yeah.
The black latch in this
I'm just trying to move it, and
it holds the rubber solid.
It's solid, absolutely solid.
Yeah.
But if I press it,
it's a really stiff button.
If I press it,
when you press it, you can adjust it.
It moves it.
It's quite clever because what she's done is, if you look at the little latch bit there on the screen in red, on the right hand side you'll see another what looks like a tube. That's a piece of conductive rubber. So she's actually using a little piece of 4mm conductive rubber as a spring.
Like I said, we always try and use all our materials.
Yeah, which is recycling materials and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that is really clever. On the left hand side of the push button you can see a little latch assembly. That's so that you can assemble it once, and then as you remove the conductive rubber, the button stays in place. It doesn't fall out, so you lose a little bit of conductive rubber. That's the bit she's tweaking at the moment, trying to get the tolerances right. I'm impressed with it.
I am.
It's clever.
You're just happy it's got no spikes, aren't you?
I am very, very happy that it has no spikes.
Shall we go back to full screen?
We don't like spikes. Do we? Well, you two do, but I don't.
Yeah, Jo loves them.
Yeah, I know she does. I'm on the receiving end of the noise.
You can breathe today.
So that she's going to be bringing that to market pretty soon. I think she's
doing them in black as well.
She'll end up doing them different colours. I think she mentioned she's going to have a different colour button.
Yeah.
Why? It looks good, that's why. So you'll probably see them on the site soon in yellow with a black button or black with a yellow button. And then if there's demand, she might roll out different colours.
Yeah.
But that's pretty good. It takes our normal insulator and just ups the game on it. Big shout out to Lawman, who mentioned the idea.
We love it when you guys send us ideas.
It's a lot of the ideas we get, we haven't got the skills to do.
Yeah.
But some of them, like this one,
we have.
Lawman suggested, could we combine an insulated loop with a cord lock?
Yeah.
And she ran with it. It
she
took her
hours on it,
that night. She had the basic idea done.
Yeah.
And it was working, and then she found the problem that if you took the rubber out, you could lose the little spring rubber and the button. So she then designed the little latch you saw, and she's been tweaking the tolerances so that it doesn't break when you assemble it, but it will assemble once and you can forget about it. And she's there. I mean, that one is a finished one now, which I have tried, and it is rather good. And we've got another little bit here. Do you want to hold that up on a close cam?
Yeah.
Right, that's actually showing you the latch. You go higher, higher, baby. You can just see.
I'm not as good
we
as
go over
Joe
the banana.
this.
You can just see the little bit of conductive rubber there.
Yeah.
That one's not straight. That's just
there's a prototype.
A little bit we messed about. But that's the actual button itself, obviously in a different colour.
Yeah.
I think that is pretty genius.
That's classic Joe.
Yeah, rather than trying to find a small spring that will work and stainless steel and all the rest of it, and a spring takes up a lot more real estate than that little bit of conductive rubber. And the conductive rubber is going to last a long time. If it gets weak, you can take it out and throw another tiny bit in. And it's literally 5mm long of conductive rubber. We've got a lot of offcuts, so it's perfect for us because it's recycling. We don't like throwing things in landfill.
No.
We always try and recycle stuff, packaging, materials, that sort of stuff. I think it's a good idea. I like how stiff it is.
Yeah. How easy it is to get through.
The good thing is, with it being so stiff, if you get some lube on it, it's still going to be stiff.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as stiff, obviously, but that little latch, the holes that the conductive rubber come through have got little tiny rings. I think it's 5 rings through them, and they're there to grip onto the conductive rubber to give you a nice tight thing. And it is. I mean, you can't adjust it, but relieve the pressure, and you can adjust it. I like it. I like it a lot. So you might see more designs like that as she sits down and starts redesigning.
I'm sure she'll want you to test it as well.
Might have to take one for the team.
Oh, you hate doing it, don't you?
It is a hard life. It is a hard life. So what we covered? We've covered bed levelling. We've covered
latest design
machines we use. That Joe wanted to cover that. We've covered some of the beds that we use.
Have we got any questions?
ABS, quick one. ABS.
Yes.
The bed we generally go with 105 degrees.
Yeah.
Or on the Voron 2.4s with that aprons, is you don't actually get 105 at the surface if it's 105 at the heater element. So we set the Vorons to 110, but everything else, the Prusas, the bamboos, we set. Well, the bamboos are different, but the Prusas 105 for that. And depending on the brand of ABS that we're printing, we'll generally between 235 degrees at the nozzle
and
to
245.
40, 245 on some. On the bamboo, we'll go up to 255. The nozzle seems to be a little bit cooler on the bamboos than they actually say, so we have to go a little bit higher, another 5 to 10 degrees. A little bit. Plus they're printing really quick, so you need more of a melt zone inside the hot end. ABS, 20% cooling fan. Keep it away from drafts. Cooling fan, it sounds a bit weird saying keep it away from drafts when we got the fan on, but the fan's continuous and you need it, especially on overhangs, to solidify the plastic before the nozzle comes over again. Drafts are where you get a chill, a variable chill that will go across your model, and what that will do is it will chill the layers at a different rate and the model can split, or it will warp, and then the warping will take it off the bed and it'll crash and you'll have all sorts of problems. So a draft-free area. All our ABS printers, the Vorons, are enclosed. The Prusas are in Prusa towers, which are these IKEA latch cases. Again, it's just to keep the drafts off. They're not airtight, but they just keep the drafts away. That's really it with ABS. You can get away with a cardboard box and ender.
And a bin liner.
A bin liner, but keep an eye on it, because obviously when you're kicking things out at 255 degrees with a bin liner or cardboard box,
that was a bit worrying when Joe says, "Oh, just stick a bin liner over it," and I was like, okay.
"Yeah, it'd be really." We've done that on top of the Voron's ears, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
So yeah, that's really it for printing.
Yeah.
We tend to stay away from PETG. We have got a couple of reels of PETG, but we don't use them in our electrodes.
No.
Mainly because ABS is easier to print.
And it can be sealed.
And the ABS means we can vapor smooth things and seal things well. And that is something that we do pretty well. Lego.
Yeah.
We've not had any questions this week.
Oh.
So I don't know what we're going to do on the question bit. Should we make some up? Because that would be bad, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah. What's your favourite chocolate?
Ooh.
No,
white chocolate.
What do you mean all of it?
White
chocolate. Yeah. She's a Milky Bar girl.
I like my Milky Bars.
Milky Bars.
And he likes everything.
I basically get in my belly. Everything gets in my belly. So yeah, watch out for those.
Yeah.
If you've got any feedback or questions, drop Joanne an email.
And if there's anything you'd like us to cover as well, because that is a massive help.
We keep saying it. These live streams are for you. Yeah. It's great for us to show you what we're doing. But it'd be more useful if we're answering questions that you've got.
Yeah.
So if you've got questions about E-Stim or even 3D printing, get in touch, and if we can answer them, and it might actually it might give us an idea of things we can cover in an article or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Ideas for electrodes, keep sending them in. We can't promise to pick every idea up and run with it because none of us are professional CAD designers.
We're just three kinksters,
We're just three kinksters. Joanna sat down with YouTube videos and learned Fusion 360.
She has.
I'm learning it as well now. You're too busy playing with plastic and Milky Bars.
Yeah.
But we're self-taught, that's what I'm trying to say. So we can do basic stuff. When it gets really, really complicated, we're not the team for that. And Joanne will spend hours and hours tweaking a design. I mean, she came up with the concept in about 3 hours. She had a working model, but she's put so many hours in since then, making it better. She's a perfectionist when it comes to that sort of stuff. So the design we showed you on screen, that one is no doubt going to change slightly before she actually puts it on the website. But it's pretty close to being done now. It's working. She's just going to tweak that little latch a little bit. So yeah, that's us. We go through a lot of PLA,
Filament.
a lot of ABS, and that's down to you lot.
So thank you.
And your support.
Yeah, it really means a lot, because we wouldn't be
doing what we do.
No.
And for us, this is living the dream.
We are.
You know, for kinksters to be able to spend their time reviewing sex toys and designing kinky things to help other people. We're quite privileged to be able to do this.
Yeah. Joanne calls herself the fourth emergency service.
The fourth emergency service, yeah. And Joanne, the profit she gets from selling electrodes and run business
back into the business.
Goes into business or Disney fund. We send her to Disneyland Paris for her birthday, don't we?
Yes. Well, I'm still thinking, I could be doing this.
But we just
because I'm a workaholic.
Work hard beforehand.
We work hard and play hard.
We do play hard.
Of course.
So I think that's it for a week. We're just going to bore you to death if we keep
we've
survived
it.
We have survived it. The studio hasn't fell down this week, so
don't say
surrogate
that.
Joanne can take her helmet off.
Yeah.
There we go. She's survived.
Yeah, Mel doesn't look happy.
No,
about that.
Does Mel ever look happy?
No.
No. he's in charge of buttons today.
He's looking at Mr. Banana.
He is. Right, so thank you very much for tuning in.
Yeah.
If you're watching it live, or thank you very much for watching it not live. Sorry for ignoring the chat today, because
he's had to help me quite.
I've had to help you and be the gobby one.
Yeah.
There you go.
And drop us a comment.
Yeah, drop us a comment. Follow us. Visit the Discord.
Yeah.
Check out our site and shop.
And we'll see you at BBB next week.
And we will see you at BBB if you're there. Yeah. Thank you very much. Bye-bye for now. Bye.